Good morning, it's Melissa, your math teacher, and there was a question that was asked over email that I wanted to do out for everyone. It was from section 3.1.29, and the question was they gave you this quadratic right here, f of x equals negative x squared minus 6x and then minus 6. And they ask you basically to write it in the standard form. They want you to write it in this form right here, x plus h squared plus k, plus or minus basically. Let's see if you can see that a little better. There we go. Okay, so they ask us to take this quadratic right here and write it in the standard form and be able to identify the vertex on it. Okay, so what we're going to need to do, because this is not in the form of a quantity squared, we're going to need to actually complete the square on this quadratic, right? So completing the square means that we're going to have to first of all isolate this x squared term with just a coefficient of a positive 1. And that's because we can't complete the square unless the coefficient of our x squared is a positive 1. So I'm actually going to take and I'm going to group these two together, and I'm going to pull out the negative in front of those two. So if I pull out a negative 1, then that grouping of those two will become x squared and then plus 6x. I'm going to leave my minus 6 on the outside. So this minus 6 right here is that minus 6. Okay, I pulled out the negative from these two, and this becomes x squared and then plus 6x. So you notice if you took the negative and distributed it back through, you would just get your old problem back. Okay, now I'm going to complete the square on what's on the inside there. So remember that completing the square is taking a half of b. b is the coefficient of your x, so I would take 1/2 of 6, and I would get 3. And then I would take that 3 and I would square it, and I would get 9. This is going to be what I'm going to add on the inside of that parenthesis. Okay, so it's going to look like this. It's going to look like f of x equals the opposite of x squared plus 6x plus 9. Now, I have added 9 on the inside of a parenthesis where there's a negative multiplying it on the outside. And I need to balance this out. I can't just add something into an equation and not balance it out. Okay, so if I add 9 here, what I'm actually doing is I'm adding a negative 9, because if I took this negative and I multiplied it through, I would actually get a negative 9 here. Okay, so to balance this out, if I've added a negative 9 into the equation, then I need to add a positive 9 on the outside so that I have effectively added 0. Because if I'm going to add something to an equation, I need to either add that same thing to the other side, or I need to subtract that same thing from the side that I'm on. Well, I added a negative 9, so I need to do the opposite of that, add a positive 9 here, and then that's now balanced. Okay, this piece right here is now a perfect square, so I can factor that into the opposite of x plus 3 quantity squared, and then this becomes plus 3. So this is going to be a concave down parabola with the negative here, and then my vertex is going to occur at negative 3, 3. The negative 3 coming from there, and then 3 coming from there. Okay.